This is John Loughran Viewed Your Profile. This episode's guest, Mike O'Brien. Welcome to the 22nd and potentially last episode of John Loughran Viewed Your Profile. Not because I want to stop doing them, I love doing these things, but because after this interview, I might not be asked back. My guest for this episode is a friend whom I typically talk to for about an hour at a time, if not more, about absolute nonsense. And our conversations really veer off the course. So I'm eager to see if we can stay on script and keep this conversation relatively PG. But just wanted to start by saying that, 2024 has been off to a particularly rough start. And I've had to have more discussions than I ever wanted to about tragic passings. I definitely wanted to pay a quick tribute to a friend of so many in the industry, Paulette McCarran, who sadly passed at the end of 2023. Paulette was awesome, someone that I connected with early in my career when we were both at CMI, and someone who I kept in touch with over the years and was always great to see. She famously won $200 off me in a March Madness tournament one year because she picked her alma mater, UConn, to win it all, and they miraculously did when they really weren't supposed to. She's already greatly missed. We'll be paying another tribute to those we lost at the 2024 Nexus Awards. Here's a reminder to save the date for this annual awesome event. Thursday, May 9th, again at the Liberty House in Jersey City. You may recall that I won the Nexus Award last year. Did I mention that? Okay, so I want to keep the opening brief because despite a tight outline of questions, I can see this conversation really going off the rails. And I like to keep these episodes relatively short for all of you cover-to-cover watchers. Is that what they call you? I know it's cover-to-cover readers. Anyway, this should be fun. My guest, Michael J. O'Brien, the second, healthcare advertising sales and marketing professional, or as my kids know him, Uncle Mike, who used to stay at our house sometimes. Got to say, an early happy Valentine's Day to you, my friend, and a hearty hey now.
Hey now.
Hey now.
I'd like to amend how you just introed me as somebody that used to stay at your house. It was interrupted by COVID, and
Yes.
I haven't had a chance to get down that Newtown way. Not a lot of
Yeah.
friends.
The mean streets of Newtown.
Yes, I feel like my clients would consist of like your landscapers and Sarah, but
yeah.
nobody wants to talk to me over there. So
no, that's not true. That's not true. I remember years ago you went into an SSCG office and somebody asked me, they're like, "Do you know this guy Mark O'Brien?" And I was like, I think I might know. Mark O'Brien.
You got to pick and choose your battles there. You don't want to answer that one completely honest.
Yeah. So we were just talking off air, and I thought it was a worthy conversation. We were talking about Harrison. Don't ask why. We were talking about Harrison Ford, who at some point in the 90s decided to grow a mustache, which didn't quite take off as well as Tom Selleck's mustache did. And what were you saying? You were saying you were thinking in the movie The Fugitive, he could have had a killer mustache.
Is this the part where I completely throw the interview and joke that I've never seen The Fugitive?
Oh, come on, never.
No, all right. So here's my theory. He's in The Fugitive. He's got the moment with he had just eaten the guy's egg salad sandwich, which looked absolutely gross. He sneaks into the hospital bathroom and he's got the beard. Yeah. Why not try the mustache right then and there? And then look at it and go, I'm not Tom Selleck. I'm actually really good looking without all of the facial hair.
Props.
Let's go with what works.
Yeah. You know what? I mean, there's two things that not to turn this into an episode of the Rewatchables where we talk about The Fugitive, but I mean, we could talk for a half hour about this movie, but we will talk important stuff. First of all, he's trying to find the killer of his wife. He's not workshopping looks. So I think the last thing on his mind, he was trying to like disguise himself from the U.S. Marshals. Not, although a mustache would have worked.
You're on the lam. Your job, first thing and foremost, is to workshop your looks. You gotta
Yeah,
change that stuff, man. Like
that's true. It's
he
true.
had a chance to give it a look. I
He
personally,
could
I
have.
think
He had a full blown beard. He could have done it. He could have done mutton chops. He could have done Fu Manchu. I mean, he could have done anything.
I feel like you get really loose with the word full blown a lot. With the
Full
term.
blown. Well,
Yes.
I mean, it's a descriptive adjective.
I hate that.
The other part of The Fugitive that I always questioned was the one part where he's like calling one-armed men to, see what's going on. And in the one scene, he's in a bar drinking a Budweiser. And I'm like, all right. I'm like, Dr. Kimball, I don't think you should be boozing right now. I think you keep your eye on the prize, buddy.
It's been a while. I mean, you got to think though. He must have been in prison. I mean, the bus ride that wasn't like from the courthouse.
I think that was. I don't know. I don't know.
It's been a long time, and the only other option he has had is probably like fermented orange juice that's been sitting in like the sun of his cell.
True.
So like, I mean, to me, a Budweiser looks just absolutely disgusting.
No, Budweiser's
well, I mean, just
the king of beers.
The Bud Heavy, yes, king of
the Bud Heavy, the Bud Heavy,
the Bud Heavy. But for him, that must have been like the Oasis.
Yeah. All right, this is already going off the rails. Now I want to ask you before I get into the goofy stuff about your college and everything.
My college? What happened?
You know what I mean.
Something happened at my college?
No, like where'd you go to college? The stupid questions. The stupid questions that I ask. Now, so you've had a lot of different titles on LinkedIn over your career. My favorite of all time, which I've only mentioned to you about 600 times, was when you were a thought leader. I thought that was cool. But if I'm correct, your current title is free agent.
Yeah.
So what's going?
Can I, as a thought leader? I gotta say, you need to do some work with the AMM. This is podcast gold right here, and we should be on Radio Row in Vegas right now. Like this is ridiculous.
We shouldn't be doing this from our. We shouldn't be doing this from our collective basements.
Exactly. I want to be next to. I want to be next to Francesa and I don't know, whoever else.
I'll see if I'll make a phone call. See if we can increase the podcast budget from $0 to anything.
It's $1. Price is right. Price is right rules.
Yeah. So what's the deal, man? So what's up? What's going on with your
career? My career, yeah, I don't know. I think I've had like a weird career. I essentially didn't find out what I did for work until like don't tell Perry Colbert this, but I didn't really figure out what media did until the end of the first week. I was like, oh, we placed the ads. That makes sense.
You thought you were like part of the media. You were going to be interviewing people. Like
I was at that point. It was part of being employed and not hearing it from my dad. That was the first hurdle I had to get over.
Yes.
Yeah. No. So fast forward, 18 years. Free agent. I worked. A plethora of different specialties. But I most recently was at Viva, and just kind of wasn't a fit for me. And kind of a lot going on personally. I had a friend that had just passed away. So when I left Viva, I was not exactly I wasn't the free agent like looking right away to score the best deal. I think it was kind of a good time to take some time off and
nice.
Reflect on what I wanted to do or what I wanted to, and also though to kind of be around my family, my friends. It was kind of the first time that a contemporary of mine, a friend of mine, somebody that like I've known Vince for 20 years, and it was difficult to kind of watch that, and I didn't really want to be looking for a job when that was ending. So
yeah,
just So now that we've covered all the depressing parts of the
Yeah,
podcast,
man. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
well, I
that's
mean,
that's
2023 ended brutally for a lot of people. 2024 started brutally. I mean, I've already been to a handful of funerals. It's just hopefully February is a lot kinder to everybody. And so this is my plug alert. I've worked with Mike in the past. He was a client of mine, not the greatest client of mine, didn't give me much business. But for some reason, I thought the play then would be to get him a job working with me. And we worked together for 5 years, and he's a great guy. I like to say that you're dipping your toe into the transfer portal. That's what you're doing right now.
I guess somewhat. I do have some irons in the fire here.
Nice.
That we won't go into in too much detail. We'll see what happens. But
That's great,
yeah,
man. Well, good luck. If you need a reference,
it's just the
give
part of the podcast where you're giving out references.
this is the part. Yeah, yeah, yeah. If you need a reference, just say watch this podcast, and
Right.
this other goofball will talk nicely about me. Let's talk about something else. Yeah, you're a Saturday Night Live.
All right, covered no job, dead friend.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, oh my God.
Can only go up from here.
Well, this segues into another late friend of ours. But and before I get into that detail, I know you like Saturday Night Live and a lot of comedies and stuff. Do you ever see the Chris Farley show where he interviews Paul McCartney? He's like, remember
It's like asking me if I've seen The
Beatles?
Godfather. Of course I've seen, yes.
So my question is, remember that time we went to the Mayo Clinic? That was cool.
Yeah.
But we
All
went
right,
we went with a great group, and it included the late great Jerry Lancelotti, and the three of us had some fun.
Well, all right. Here's the first leg of the trip was the easiest part. Was getting by myself to Minneapolis.
Uh-huh.
And then you made the joke. I knew we were flying. I didn't know how far away the Mayo Clinic was. You made the joke to Jerry and I that we were taking the Buddy Holly plane
Oh,
over
Lord.
to Rochester, Minnesota, which at the time, I was in media. Jerry was obviously in media. So our travel was not that of a sales rep, and I was still scared to fly. So I had made it to Minneapolis, which I thought was a major, um, you know, feather in my cap. And then you dropped that at us. And I personally think that is where the weekend started to get a little off the rails.
It wasn't
Because
the
the
handle
only
of
way to get
vodka.
yes, the only way to get Jerry and I on that Buddy Holly plane was to I don't know, lubricate the joints.
It was basically the Mr. T approach to in the A team, and he hated flying, so they basically had to either con him into getting on the plane or knock him unconscious.
Yeah, I think it was Wolf of Wall Street where they end up fastening him to his seat.
Yeah.
I think that was what Jerry looked like at the end.
Yeah.
Well,
good old Jerry. That was a lot of fun, that trip. And I think now that I'm thinking about it, I think I lost my luggage and probably wore the same outfit for 3 days, which was lovely.
You did that, and you never checked into your room.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I think I crashed on your floor one night.
Yeah.
Probably cuddled with Jerry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks to the Mayo Clinic and American Medical Communications for that trip. I had a great time.
Yes, that was fun. Speaking of, oh God, another segue. Speaking of hospitals and health systems.
Hospitals and health systems, yes.
Yeah. Well, you and I mean, I don't know if the people can tell, but we're pretty good friends. We've been friends for almost 20 years, something like that. So when you were younger, you used to be a bit of a husky boy.
Yeah, well, a bit of a husky boy. That would be like saying I don't know, like Michael Jordan was a bit of a basketball player.
Bit of a basketball player. But yeah, didn't you have something
I,
where you live stream something? You didn't you call it the chubby something or other?
what?
I don't know. That was years
I
ago. Like you
no,
said, I remember.
hold on. For starters, I didn't live stream something called the Chubby Anything, and it wasn't years ago or 2 days ago or ever. I've never
I
I've
think it
never
was
live streamed anything. I
it.
had a running basketball diary
That's
that
it.
that
That's
I was
it.
writing during the NCAA tournament with a buddy of mine, and I think it
Yeah,
had about 12 people. So wow, the 360 that thing took for
yeah,
one
yeah.
this no
So
no but
well,
it
anyway, no. But now you look like a Greek god. You've slimmed down. But now I know it's not from exercise.
no
Um,
thank you
so sorry, you've had some health issues,
yeah
and
there's just a
and
few
and we were talking the other day about how interesting it is being in the field that we are, and kind of being on the patient side of things and interacting with doctors. You want to talk a little bit about what's going on and that experience,
nah
or
screw to
not?
the next one no yeah sure yeah so I was diagnosed in 2022 in February actually diagnosed is kind of a weird term. I wasn't actually diagnosed with anything because I have a rare disease that's just me. And I
So
think that
rare that they named it after you.
that's right.
You
But
might
it
be the
was
luckiest man on the face of the earth, or the
maybe
unluckiest.
yes. I think I'm the luckiest.
Yeah.
But no, it was I literally didn't even realize this. I looked down at the my computer clock here and it was 2 years ago tomorrow.
Wow.
And yeah, so it was kind of a horrific at the time. And certainly, without going into too much detail, I spent a week at Mass General Hospital. It was a lovely, lovely experience. But yeah, I think I got a really intricate look at how the communications between the patients and the physicians take place. I think you know it's weird that the end of all of any commercial that you see for a patient is ask your doctor, and I'm sure there's a billion people out here that feel the same way. Like I was so afraid to ask my doctor because I didn't want to get like maybe not bad news, but like I don't know. Some people just don't want to hear like the truth when you're not um, the healthiest of human beings. So or if you are the healthiest of human beings. It's a difficult conversation. I think through this experience and through a lot of the platforms that are provided to you. In my case, Mass General has what they call the patient gateway, and it's kind of a free access to your physician, and you can ask them. Anything from billing questions to non urgent medical questions. And I started to communicate with my doctors that way because I felt more comfortable, not having face to face conversations. Partially because I was, a mess, physically and didn't feel like talking to people. I think when you have a liver disease, oops, just lost my camera somehow. Hold on.
It's okay.
I'm back. When you have
It's your words that are resonating the most.
yes,
Yeah.
that's what I was making. No, when you have a liver disease, I don't think you realize how much of your entire body that your liver affects. So I had a lot of different questions for a lot of different physicians that are different specialties, and I think what I've come out of from that whole experience is that um, what we do does matter. But until a patient and a physician start to talk, then it's almost, and I hate to use a cliche, but it is deaf ears. Because unless you keep that dialogue going, and in my case, unless I kept it going, I would always like, I wouldn't even remember like what was said before or what my doctor had told me. I'd have my wife there, and then when I started doing the gateway thing, and I was able to kind of text and email with them, it became easier for me. I remembered what they were saying. I had 50 doctors telling me 20 different things, so it was hard to keep track. of, but it was the conversations with the physicians that pulled me through. They were the ones that were, essentially like, stop, stop reading into this on your own. Just ask us, talk to us, and we'll tell you exactly what's going on. They're not going to pull punches. They can't. It's not, they're not there to cheer you up. They're there to make you better. So I think for me personally, getting that perspective and knowing what a patient goes through, and knowing all the hurdles that can kind of come along the way, talk to your doctors and your nurses, and have a real running dialogue with them, because it is worth it, and they're not the robots that you might think they are. Yeah, so that would be what I've learned over the last couple of years.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. There's no sense in lying to your doctor, like when they say like, so how many drinks do you have a week?
Especially when you have a liver disease, don't lie about that.
Yeah. But, in all seriousness, though, you're doing okay, right?
Doing great.
I know you've made some lifestyle changes, and
yeah, a lot of lifestyle changes. My diet's pretty limited, which is probably why I lost all the weight. But no, I mean, I think it's a limited diet. They still don't actually have a diagnosis for it. And in full disclosure, I'm not looking for help on the. I know there's a lot of armchair physicians in our industry. I'm one of them, so I trust the team of physicians I have at Mass General.
Is it lupus?
No, it's not. It's just thing in my lip.
Yeah, it's a white discoloration.
Are you going to tell anyone it's a Seinfeld joke and I don't have something on my lip? Or?
Sorry. Well, that's people. I mentioned towards the end that Mike and I, one of the reasons we fly off the rails with our conversations is we're both big fans of Seinfeld, the comedian Norm Macdonald, bunch of other obscure nonsense.
Anything that your like wife would never watch with you, that's like right in the wheelhouse. Tosh.
Exactly.
But I mean, I think without a doubt, though, the ultimate person in that scenario is Norm. Because
the late great Norm Macdonald, who I reference frequently on this thing.
On the way to school this morning, my wife and I dropped the kids off, and I played her the clip that I sent you last night, and she just looked at me and was like, "It's just not. I don't like."
Yeah, my wife's the same way. She actually twice, because she's a great wife and loving partner and knows how much I liked Norm Macdonald. She got tickets to go for the two of us to go see stand up, and I was like on the floor, like in pain. And she's just sitting there like she'd rather be getting a colonoscopy. Like it was, she's like, this guy's not funny.
What's wrong with a colonoscopy? It's not that bad.
It's not the most pleasant thing in the world.
No, well, I used to, on my media days, I used to rep Braintree Pharmaceuticals.
Bowel prep.
The colon prep, yes. So I have a soft spot in my heart for colonoscopies, I guess.
Yeah, that was another
the prep.
that was another ad I didn't get in my pharmacy days. Anyway,
yes.
So you you used to be. I know you as a big time jock. I believe you played hockey in college. It says here you went to someplace I never even heard of. It was Salve Regina.
Salve Regina.
Salve Regina. Where in the world is Salve Regina?
Well, first of all, apologies to Gina Benacasa. The way John just pronounced the name of my college. It's Salve Regina. It's in Newport, Rhode Island. It's actually quite beautiful. It's on the cliff walk of Newport, Rhode Island, which back in the I guess I would say 1800s, during the before the Industrial Revolution, during the time of the railroads, it was basically the first summer vacation place for socialites and wealthy people from New York. So you had houses that were just these absolute. I mean, they're still there. They're just gaudy, gigantic mansions like that. You wouldn't be able to go through them in a day, and they spent like 6 weeks there. for summer,
Wow.
just left. Yeah. So it's kind of an interesting place. It's a really, really, if anyone has an interest in kind of that type of history, and that's contrary to John's characterization of me as a jock. I very much
Weren't
identify
you? Weren't you?
as a nerd. I like
Oh,
I played like I
you were the
played
goalie,
small.
right?
I
Were
was
you
played.
the?
I played hockey. I was it's a small Division 3 school. We were in the conference tournament and got bounced every year. It was nothing special. I wasn't that good. I'm not a jock. Um, I very much am much more of a nerd at heart. And I kind of wear that on my sleeve too. But yeah, no, I mean it was a great school, and it's a really 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 big nursing school. So if you're if anyone's looking for a nurse or someone to work in a corporate environment, Salve's got a really top notch program there. So
Nice.
I like to.
Fun time. You had some good
I
times
had a
there.
great time. I had a really really. You can't spend 4 years in Newport, Rhode Island in college. You could have put me in a tin can in college and I would have had fun, but
Yeah.
for sure. I mean that was a really a great place. Certainly has a soft spot in my heart. Yeah, I mean, you tell people where you went to school and they like you don't know what it is,
Yeah.
and then they like go and walk the campus and they're like, oh my god, this is where you went to college. It was also, by the way, it was when I went there, it was 70% girls. So I had like
Nice.
I was just not. I mean, you'd look out the window and you'd be overlooking like these crashing waves against cliffs, and then you turn to your right and you were the only guy in class.
It's like a Beach Boys
It
song about
was
surfing and two
right.
girls for every boy.
I
That's a line in the
well,
song.
I know. I've heard of the Beach Boys. Thanks.
Yeah.
It's a popular band, I think.
Yeah. They've got
I
a
well,
song
this
or
is more
two.
like two girls for every one, but the two girls were not interested in this one. Like
Yeah, well, yeah. I
it was
mean, there was some lucky guy out there with three girls
yes,
because
exactly. Four girls for that guy, and
yeah. Nice, nice. All right, let me ask you some other goofy questions. You know what? I mean, I want to be respectful of your time. And yeah, I don't like these things to run too long because I love in a perfect world people to watch these entire things. And I feel like when they see 45 minutes, I ain't got time for that crap. Uh,
I
but
got time for that.
so tell me how you got started in our industry. You went to Salve, you played
Sure.
hockey, you obviously studied something, but what was your first job in our industry?
So I worked or I interned at Arnold Worldwide in Boston, which is a consumer agency. Had some really, really cool accounts. I worked on Fidelity, but at the time they were one of their kind of flagships was they were launching. This was 2005. It was the VW Jetta, and they were kind of positioning it away from being like the college girl car into being more of a guy that's growing up or a girl that's growing up.
Yeah.
And so that really like was fascinating to me that they were gonna do that you could completely transition the way people think about your product based on the advertising. So working at a big ad agency like that was really eye opening. I met a lot of people that I wouldn't normally have gotten to meet. As you mentioned, I went to Salve, Regina. Most of the other people in my intern group were Stanford, Harvard. Really good. A few people had the same reaction to Salve that you did. Like, where the hell is that?
Wow.
But that was kind of my intro, and then aforementioned Perry Colbert.
Yeah.
Hired me to work at the time it was called LLNS, which is Lyons, Levy, Nickel, and Swift. It went through a few different iterations, but yeah, I got into media as a planner, and after I figured out after that first week what it was, I ended up really liking it, and so over the course of like 7 years and kind of churning and burning as a media planner, I connected with Gene Consier at
Yeah. That
and
guy.
John Loughran at American
Yeah.
Medical Communications, and Lindsay Rosenthal and Jen Callow, Adam Sansolo, whole that whole group over there that I'm still tight with this to this day, and so that launched my career in sales.
Nice.
And we're going on, geez, almost 11 years since then.
Wild.
So it's like they what was the I know you know this, the Kenny Chesney song "Don't Blink." Like I kind of feel like that's like my career. It was like, oh my God, my entire life has been around has been in this industry, and
I think you've hit one of the few things we don't have in common, which is country music.
I
Also your love for that show Downtown Abbey.
it's
Uh,
Downton Abbey. It's not
oh,
Downtown Abbey. I don't know what Downtown Abbey. Oh, hold on, potential spam is calling.
oh, you should take that. All right. Well, it's been great.
Downton
No,
Abbey
Downton
is the
Abbey.
show.
Yeah,
Downton
I couldn't
Abbey.
watch that. If you put a pile of money in front of me and a 30 pack and said, just watch this show.
I might do that anyway, just to see which one you go for first.
Nice.
Yeah, no, country music in Downton Abbey.
Yeah.
I'm not going to try to preach to the choir of somebody who's seventh grade football jersey had his name on his back. I just realized um,
Yeah. Well, listen, man.
why were you number 21? You're before Tomlinson.
Well, you know what? Hey, there was, I think the main numbers that I wanted were taken. So I think he was still on the Falcons at the time, so I didn't loathe him. Dion. I kind of fancied myself as like prime time.
No. I totally get it.
It was great. It was great. Literally, this was the first year I played tackle football in pads, and I came out
without pads, or
well, the very first week, I was like a playground legend with my friends. I would light them up, and the very first week of like summer practice was without
Jesus
pads.
Shuttlesworth, right?
Yeah, it was without pads, and the coaches were like throwing passes. I'm picking things off. They're like, "You're going to be our starting safety," and I was like, "Great!" I'm doing like primetime dances and stuff, and then literally the first day we put shoulder pads and helmet on, they threw me a ball and it hit me right in the face because I couldn't like raise my arms.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, we might have to reevaluate this guy.
You know what though? Back in your defense, back in those days in the mid '80s, the shoulder pads were like,
Oh yeah, they were gigantic.
It was like Tom Cruise and all the right moves. It looks like he has his head's going to be enveloped by his jersey. So
is that where he goes to Ampipe High School?
Yeah.
I think so. And that's
don't know.
Isn't Craig T. Nelson his football coach?
He had a lot of range there.
Craig T. Nelson is great as a football coach.
Football coach and nothing else. Well, no, he's been in a couple other things, right?
He's been in stuff.
He's been in Parenthood, which is terrible.
He was in a movie called The Proposal with America's Sweetheart, Sandra Bullock, and Ryan Reynolds. He plays Ryan Reynolds' dad.
He's the football coach.
He's the football coach. Yeah, he's Ryan Reynolds' football coach. All right, let me just. I got about halfway through my questions. Most of my other questions are stupid.
Really? My God.
They're basically about you being from Boston. You mentioned your internship in Boston. You are from Boston. Here's a great tie-in. You being from Boston and talking about advertising. One of my favorite commercials these days is the Sam Adams, your cousin from Boston. Do they play that in Boston?
Yeah. I mean, look, it's I think the whole Boston persona or attitude has made for a lot of funny stuff over the years. Certainly SNL with the Casey Affleck Dunkin' Donuts skit is like my favorite ever. Bill Burr, another Sam Adams. Yeah, they play it in. I don't embrace it, I think, as much as certain people up here do. I feel like Boston's not that place anymore. When we always joke when I was growing up, every kid that lived south of Boston told everyone they were from Southie. That
Southie.
was like, and now if like you go to like South Boston or Charlestown or any of those like tough guy areas, it's like Yuppieville. I know I live there,
Yeah.
and I'm not tough. So
You live in Southie?
I lived in Charlestown
Okay.
for a couple years. Yes, very very mean streets with my my wife and baby daughter at the time. Um,
Nice.
yeah, no, it's the Boston thing has changed a lot. The city's changed a lot. Uh, it's funny. It's like when I moved to New York, which I don't know if we covered. I lived in New York for 9 years. When I moved
Yeah,
there,
yeah, yeah.
it
I was
was
getting to
still
that.
very much in the your cousin from Boston. That I feel like every caricature from Boston is a guy that's like wearing like a construction vest and like has dirty work boots and is drinking a Dunkin' Donuts cup that might be like spiked. So
Dirty work boots was a good reference that
dirty,
I
yeah.
will
Well,
get. Anyway.
anywho, but I think like the city's become much more of dare I say, an intellectual hub.
Hmm.
Not the hub that you like,
Uh,
but
yeah,
other hubs.
well, I love hubs of all sorts.
Yes.
But
Really?
port cities.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well,
Yes.
anywho, but yeah, so it's a little bit different. So I think Boston, um, I wouldn't say has gotten a bad rap over the last like 20 years. It's gotten a inaccurate rap. It's not the tough guy, annoying cousin from the wrong side of the tracks anymore. It's much more of a yuppie, nerdy tech city that's like kind of sort of.
What was that? What was
And
that movie? What was that movie where Damon Wayans plays basketball and two Boston Celtics
oh,
fans?
Celtic Pride.
Yeah,
It's the most underrated Boston movie of all time. Is Celtic Pride, hands
yeah.
down. Everyone hates it. You've got two absolute legends, Aykroyd and Daniel Stern at the pinnacle. You have Daniel Stern post Home Alone. Um, I want to say post Rookie of the Year.
Oh, that was
He
the
produced Rookie of the
pitching
Year.
coach.
I
Yeah.
know this because my daughter is like my 5 year old is completely enamored of Rookie of the Year, and
She
actually
she likes Henry Rowan Gardner.
she does. She actually thought I had my knee operated on. She thought that like I could come back and be like
Oh,
like Adam Vinatieri or something. Like
yeah, yeah,
maybe
yeah.
they
Well, I
just
mean, yeah, Henry Rowan Gardner.
yeah,
They
it was the
tightened his tendons and he could throw
yeah
100 miles an hour.
broke the doctor's nose. Like
Yeah, yeah,
um but yeah, I think that Celtic Pride got a really bad rap. Damon Wayans is really funny in it.
yeah.
They just have a lot of that guys. And look, is it Goodwill Hunting with Robin Williams and talking to Matt Damon about he's not going to understand him because he read Oliver Twist? No, it's not. It's like
Yeah.
it's a movie about two plumbers who kidnap a guy from the Utah Jazz.
Yeah.
You know,
So let me ask you real quick because this is something I find fascinating because you're from Boston.
you're not going to let me
Um,
tie back the why I love Celtic Pride.
no, no,
Okay, well, at the end, this is for you. They
okay.
kidnapped Deion Sanders for the Super
Oh,
Bowl.
really?
Yes, I'm all about movies where nobody learns a lesson.
Okay, all right. Well, maybe in Celtic Pride too. I guess they didn't make that, but
Yeah,
no.
no, they
So
did.
this is my segue here is you're a diehard Red Sox fan. Love the
Yes,
Pats. Love the who the hell's the other team? Wait, don't tell me. The Bruins. The Bruins. Those are your yeah. All right.
yes, that one.
Sox, Pats, Bruins. New York
Knicks.
Knicks.
Yeah,
What's up with
this is
that?
going to be super interesting for everybody that's listening to find out why I'm a Knicks. No,
Sure.
when I was a kid, my best friend loved Jordan. There was a confluence of events. My best friend loved Jordan, so I hated Jordan. Um, as you mentioned, I'm a massive Bruins fan, favorite team of any sport ever.
Yep.
And the Celtics would always, and this is going to fall on a lot of deaf ears for your younger demographic, but the Celtics would always take the back page of the Boston Herald, no matter what was going on. Like they
Yeah.
just kind of they had a group of writers that I felt I don't know, just unfairly would give the Celtics more press than the Bruins. So I had a chip on my shoulder about them anyway. And then the first game I ever saw, I witnessed the great Patrick Ewing live from about 10 rows back. And after that, I was like hooked. I loved Ewing. I loved Starks, Pat Riley when they They hired him. I was skeptical about Jeff Van Gundy until he got himself into a fight with the Heat, and then ended up
Oh,
wrapping
just like
around
hang
on
on
the.
the guy's leg.
Yeah, I couldn't. I was like, you know what? That is everything I want to be as like if I was an NBA guy, if I was in the NBA around these people, that's the only thing I could do is hang on to somebody's leg.
Yeah.
So I became a Van Gundy guy. Yeah. And then then somebody pulled the trap door out in 2000. It's never been quite as fun since.
I like Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart, the
So
Villanova
yeah,
guys.
funny story about Jalen Brunson. So his father is grew up in the
Rick
town next to me,
Rick
Rick
Brunson.
Brunson, and he his Salem, Massachusetts, the Witch City.
Yeah.
They went 35-0 and won the state championship. And in the newspaper, my dad was the play-by-play guy for that team. And
Wow.
in the newspaper was a picture of me and Rick Brunson just sitting next to each other.
Nice.
Yeah, it was. He was celebrating, and I think I was eating popcorn, looking off to the side. But we were there.
That's a fascinating story because I would have never thought that Rick Brunson was from that area because I'm 99% sure he went to Temple in
Yeah,
Philadelphia,
yeah. So
which I
yeah, so
kind of always thought he was a local guy.
no, he was.
To local,
He is a local guy.
local
God's
guy
guy.
to me. Not yeah. All right, listen, man. I think you told me you had something in like 5 minutes that I don't
I
want you to
do.
be late for.
I have a
This
job
could
interview, so
this
we probably.
well, good luck with that.
Thank you.
This
Or
could
take that off.
easily be a two-part episode. I still have so many questions. I wanted to talk about your daughters, your beautiful daughters, how they play hockey and everything. I just one last thing because we are filming this the week leading up to the Super Bowl. You wouldn't happen to be wagering on that, would you?
Um.
That's another
Well,
thing.
it's
That's another
legal
Norm
now.
Macdonald thing that you
It's
like,
it's.
aren't you?
Yes. I enjoy I enjoy the occasional wager. I'm. Is my wife? I don't think she's in earshot. Yes. No. I will be. Here's the thing I don't get. If you lose the money, and why do the bookies get to break your legs and then
Sorry, they
still
blow your
collect the
toe off.
money?
Yeah, doesn't seem fair. Doesn't
Doesn't
seem
seem
fair.
fair. I
Well,
mean,
okay. Speaking of Super Bowls, last question, and then I'll let you run. You actually went to the Super Bowl in 2018, right?
I sure
How
did.
how was that?
Um, Look, I don't consider myself like um, a sadist or anything like or anything, but there's something inherently wrong with you when your team has been to 11 Super Bowls and the only one you go to is in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's 12 degrees. All the other ones are like in Tempe,
Beautiful.
like yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
unbelievable. Or
And
not
they
Tempe.
win. And they
And
win
yes,
them.
right. The one you go to is in Minneapolis, Minnesota. They're playing the Eagles, and I, of course, in the three Super Bowls the Patriots have lost over the Brady era. I lived in New York for the two Giants ones, and I worked for a company in Philly for the Eagles one. So
Yeah.
there I did go. Not that I took, as I mentioned earlier, not a lot of girls at Salve were pointing my direction. I did take a few walks.
You have a very attractive wife.
Yeah, I do. Yes, I something. I'm still trying to figure out
What's
what
wrong
happened
with
there.
her?
Yeah,
Yeah.
why she would have. But the walk of shame out of the out of the Super Bowl in Minneapolis was unlike anything I've ever taken. It was I wouldn't say like PTSD inducing, but I do still jump when somebody hands me a T-shirt outside the stadium because we were walking like out, and it's just like Eagles gear. You like you can it's like, and you're
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
it was and not to mention it wasn't like you were walking outside and like, all right, screw it, let's just go to the beach for an hour. It was like, all right, let's
It
go
was
back
like,
to the Airbnb, crank the heat, and get out of here on the first flight home to Boston. So
yeah. Well, I do still have, it was very nice of you and you're a good sport. You sent me the ticket to the game, which I have
I
framed in my
hand
basement.
delivered that ticket. I did not send it
Yes.
to you. Hand
Oh,
delivered.
I think you did hand deliver. Yeah, which was great. So I still have that framed. That was a huge thing for me. Obviously, the Eagles have only won one Super Bowl. I actually, in honor of you, I wore my Bill Belichick short sleeve hoodie.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Anyway, dude, you got to run. Thank you very much. This has been awesome. We'll catch up.
It's a lot of fun, man. Can't wait for part 2.
Yeah, we might have to do that. All right, I'm going to stop recording, dude. I'll talk to you. Well, there you have it. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and hopefully I get to do another one. Till next time, be well.